The first house in Vedic astrology is known as the Lagna. It represents the self, your identity, physical body, personality, vitality, and the way you approach life. If the sun represents the soul and the moon represents the mind, the first house is the doorway through which both are expressed into the world. It is the filter through which every experience passes. The sign rising on the eastern horizon at the moment of your birth becomes your ascendant. That rising sign determines the entire structure of your chart. Change the rising sign, and every house placement shifts. This is why the first house is foundational. Without it, the rest of the chart cannot be interpreted correctly. The first house governs physical appearance. It governs body language. It governs how others perceive you upon first meeting. It also governs vitality and life force. A strong first house often gives physical resilience and recovery strength. But the first house is more than the body. It represents self-awareness. It shows how clearly you know who you are. When the first house is strong, a person tends to feel internally stable. They may face challenges, but they do not lose themselves in the process. When the first house is weak or afflicted, identity confusion may arise. There may be difficulty asserting boundaries or making independent decisions. The ruler of the first house, the Lagna Lord, is extremely important. Where the Lagna Lord sits in the chart shows where your life energy is directed. If the Lagna Lord is placed in the 10th house, career becomes central to identity. If placed in the 7th, relationships strongly shape life direction. If placed in the 5th house, creativity and self-expression become a life theme. If placed in the 9th house, belief systems and philosophy shape personal identity. This is why we never analyze the first house alone. We always analyze its ruler and its aspects. Planets placed in the first house directly influence personality. Each planet modifies the tone of identity. For example, the sun in the first house can give strong leadership presence. The moon in the first may create emotional sensitivity and responsiveness. Mars in the first house can create drive and competitiveness. Venus in the first can bring charm and aesthetic awareness. Saturn in the first often brings seriousness, discipline, and maturity early in life. Jupiter in the first may bring wisdom, optimism, and ethical focus. None of these are inherently good or bad. They simply color the way identity is expressed. The first house also represents initiative. It shows how you begin things, whether you hesitate or act decisively. When strongly supported, a person naturally takes responsibility. When weakened, procrastination or avoidance may dominate. Now let's explore the most impactful house interactions with the first house. The first and 7th house axis represents self versus partnership. If heavily activated, life lessons revolve around balancing independence with commitment. The first and 10th axis connects identity with public role. There may be strong ambition to build a visible legacy. The first and 4th axis connects outer identity with inner emotional life. If this axis is imbalanced, a person may appear confident but feel unsettled internally. The first and 5th axis strengthens creative expression. Self-expression becomes essential for personal fulfillment. The first and 9th axis creates philosophical identity. Beliefs are not casual, they define the person's worldview. It is also essential to analyze the first house from the moon chart. The Lagna shows physical identity. The moon chart shows emotional identity. Sometimes the Lagna appears strong, but the moon's first house is weak. Externally confident, internally uncertain. Other times the moon chart is strong while the Lagna chart struggles. Internally secure, externally misunderstood. Both perspectives must be analyzed for accuracy. From a karmic perspective, the first house represents the beginning of the soul's current journey. It is the starting point of incarnation. It shows what qualities the soul must develop consciously in this lifetime. A strong first house often indicates that the soul is ready to take responsibility. A challenged first house indicates identity lessons must be learned through experience. Spiritually, the first house asks, are you living authentically? It is not about ego dominance. It is about self-alignment. Strengthening the first house means developing clarity. Clarity about values. Clarity about direction. Physical discipline strengthens the first house. Mental focus strengthens it. Personal responsibility strengthens it. When the first house becomes stable, the entire chart functions more smoothly because identity influences every decision. If identity is unstable, even favorable placements struggle to manifest fully. The first house is the foundation. It is the anchor of the horoscope. And ultimately, it reminds us of one powerful truth. You are not just experiencing your life. You are shaping it through the strength of your self-awareness. If this video helped you understand the true role of the first house in your birth chart, comment your rising sign below. And if you're following this structured journey through Vedic astrology, make sure you're subscribed for next week's episode. Understanding life through the lens of Vedic astrology.